Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Cybersecurity Happy Hour podcast. I am your host, Christie. The topic of today's podcast is ransomware. Now, before I commence, I just want to start off by just explaining what ransomware is, so you have, for those of you who do not know, have understanding of what it is. Now, ransomware is a type of malicious software, or what we call malware. And what this malicious software does is that it prevents legitimate users from accessing maybe their files, their networks, or their systems. So really what it does is it encrypts that information and demands a ransom. That's why that name is ransomware. So it demands a kind of ransom and payment from the victim. And ransomware essentially will block access to a file, so until the victim pays the money to the perpetrator. Okay. Now, during that time that the files are held in ransom, the victim cannot access those files of that system. Okay. So once they've paid the ransom fee, then the perpetrator will send the decryption keys, or will decrypt it, and then the files can be accessed once again. So the question that you might be asking, how does an organization or how does a person individually get ransomware type of malware? And one of the ways that this malware spreads is usually the typical, which is email. So you receive this email from the source. So that's how, so you receive an email and of course the user may click. Okay. Now within that email, there might be some kind of enticement, such as it could be in a PDF format, it could be links, malicious links, and the person clicks on it, and then of course then the drama, I would say, begins. Now, this is a cyber and information security podcast. Do not forget to protect your data in transit and maintain your privacy by using our affiliate link for NordVPN. So the link is in the show notes, and what you need to do is once you click on the link, you'll be redirected to the website, but you must use the coupon code INTECHCYBER, all one word, INTECHCYBER. And if you use this code, what do you get? You get 70% off a 3-year plan. So for 3 years, you get 70% off. And that's not all. You also get 1 month free. So you get 1 month free. Now, as I've mentioned before, ransomware uses some type of encryption. So it encrypts your files. Now, typically with asymmetric type of encryptions, there are 2 keys, private and public keys. So as the name public means that the key is in the general public. Yes, so I say it's easily accessible. And what would happen here is the files will be encrypted with the public key, and if that happens, then the private key will be used to decrypt it. So once the system or the files are encrypted, then the cyber criminal will demand a ransom. It could be up to, let's say, 48 hours. You need to pay, or you will not have any access to your files. Okay, so each of them have their own conditions anyway. Now, if you have backup, let's say you can see that the files have been encrypted, you can take your backup offline. Okay, so they're online, take them offline so they don't get encrypted. Because if they do get encrypted and you have no other source of recovering your data, then you may have to pay the ransom. Okay, what are the types of ransomware? They're kind of the first one is scareware. And I always like looking at the terms, it's scareware. And what does this ransomware do? Or how does it actually happen? You may receive some kind of pop-up message, and the message will say that your system is infected with a kind of malicious software. Okay? And in order for you to clean or make your system pristine and virus-free, you need to pay up some sum. Okay? Now, if you do, you have to question how does pop-up happened in my system. That's another debate. So the pop-ups will continue to alert you saying you have you have a virus, and then of course they're acting on fear. So if the person is really afraid, oh my God, my system has been infected, then they will click on that link or they will pay to get that system cleaned. Now, during that process of cleaning the system, that's when the files will get encrypted. Then we have the second one, we have like screen lockers. Okay. So again, the ransomware will have access to your system, and once they get access to your system, then you'll be locked out. So that's one thing, you'll be locked out. And then you must see some kind of an interface, okay, that looks kind of like a government agency, all right, and saying that some kind of illegal activities is occurring. So when you say like a government activity, let's say if it's the USA FBI, I think an FBI window, oh my God, then this is really serious. So people will be concerned. Now the basis of this, again, is the same, that you get scared into doing something and your files get encrypted and you have to pay a ransom. The thing is that sometimes if you do pay, you may not get your files back. So that's the risk. Okay, they may give you your file back, okay, but then maybe your name will be targeted. So, okay, this person is easy target, or you might pay to get your file decrypted, and unfortunately the monies will be taken off you, and the cyber criminals will disappear into the night. Now, one of the infamous ransomware is WannaCry, and WannaCry really affected the NHS a few years ago. They kind of almost brought the NHS to their knees. And the NHS, of course, deal with all medical records and not just records. We're talking about surgeries, all the data, patient data in hospitals. And you could have seen the impact there was a huge impact that surgeries were cancelled. Can you imagine that happened at this time of the pandemic? That would have been catastrophic. People, in hospitals waiting, on life support due to COVID, and all of a sudden the medical records are frozen. That would have been catastrophic. There's other types of ransomware. I'm just going to name a couple. Let's say we've got one called Cerber. Again, that Cerber kind of targets the Microsoft Office 365 users. Okay, so you can see you have different types and who does it target, what system. So Cerber will target the Office 365. Then we have Crypto Wall. Again. Well, CryptoWall came after CryptoLocker. So CryptoLocker has been around since, let's say, 2013. And during its heyday, it's actually demanded ransom over £3 million or dollars, really, from the victims. You can see this is not really kind of chicken change. We have CTB Locker. These are just names I'm just giving just to show you what are the different types or the different names of various ransomware. We've got Golden Eye as well. Remember, the behavior is the same. They encrypt. Then what does it do? But then let's say Golden Eye targets, let's say, the master boot record. And then we have others like Locker Golga, right? We have Locky, Not Petya. So again, that was another one going back to 2016, and is also known as a wiper. Okay, so what does the NotPetya does? It kind of destroys your data. So it doesn't ask you for ransom. It just kind of just get rid of your data. Now imagine if you have critical data, and remember, if you don't have backups, then the company will go down within a few hours. So that's the impact. We talk about this is what happens. But if it's an organization or your personal record and you don't have a backup, what would happen to your organization? That means, well, the shutters will come down, essentially. Now, how can you defend against ransomware? What kind of things an individual or organization should have in place? Well, one, I always talk about backups. Back your data, your critical files to somewhere alternative, somewhere off-site or in a different hard drive, somewhere an alternate, okay? so that if your system gets infected, let's say it does, then you can restore. Okay. Now your backups as well. If you've got backups, make sure they're secure. All right. They're not accessible to any unauthorized third party. Now, what if you've been affected? Let's say, okay, you've done the backups, but what if that incident happens? What you need to do, you must make sure that you stop the spread like a virus. Just damn me, it cannot spread quickly. Make sure that you stop the spread. What I mean is spread the encryption. Your file's been encrypted rapidly. You want to stop that. Act quickly yourself. All right. You might need to pull off the servers. Pull the plugs from systems. To prevent files being. And once you've kind of done that, then you need to kind of start to do some kind of investigation to see which files were encrypted, if there were any. Okay, start looking for any files with, let's say the extensions were changed. Let's say let's say it was Word file and it was Word file extensions DOC. Let's say it was the extensions were let's say it was changed from the original file, just anything that's unusual. This is a process of investigation here. Okay, and then as you're investigating, you're documenting as you go. So you're looking to see, okay, then what was affected? Is it our devices? Is it our cloud as well? So this is kind of a thorough investigation, but your incident response plan will kick in at this time. Okay. Also, want to find out the type of malware, malware, ransomware, or the variants. Okay, so you want to know what you're doing, because remember I have listed a few. Okay, and some of them target a specific system, and they have diverse behaviors. Okay, so you have to use a tool to determine what malware it is or ransomware, and then so you can understand how to deal with it, how to remove it, or how understand the behaviors. And as part of your investigation, you need to find out the routes of entry. How did this piece of ransomware get into your system? That's going to be part of the investigation. Now, once you've done that, then you need to kind of look at your backups. Okay, remember I said you have taken backups continuously, and you want to kind of examine your backups, making sure that they haven't been encrypted, that they're pristine. And then, of course, you want to kind of restore the system. The restoration of the system starts now. Now, what if you haven't got any backups, or your backups have been corrupted or encrypted, and you can't decrypt it? Then, unfortunately, I said there's two options. Some companies may shut down immediately, or you may need to start from scratch again, and that is time intensive. So that's why it's having that proactive method of preventing all types of malware in the first place, and to prevent or reduce the impact of these types of attacks. Again, you have to do some kind of investigation, make sure that your systems have antivirus or some sort of security software, and they're up to date. So once again, if you detect some kind of ransomware, you just have to, as I mentioned, that your incident response plan will kick in. And again, this kind of covers these following steps. Isolate your infected system or the machines. Do your investigation, as I mentioned before. See what check your backups, and make sure that that have been affected as well. Then once you've done that, then you need to start recovering. Okay, so you need to start restore your system from backup. All right, so you'd have those backup. You need to kind of get your system bringing back the system or the files from your backup. And then, of course, once that's done, and you need to kind of look at, okay, what can we learn from this? Okay, what can we learn from this? So you need to, I said to you before, and I mentioned before, that we need to kind of find out how this thing happened. Because obviously there were some kind of weak points or weak entry points. Okay, so we need to kind of recover, and then reinforce, do our lessons learned. And always, I said, evaluate, because you need to kind of evaluate that you have some controls in place, we hope. And if those controls were not fit for purpose, needed to find out why not. Why didn't our antivirus work, for example? Why didn't our firewalls work? How come the administrators didn't get alert? If this was you managing that system, how come you didn't get the alert yourself? Okay, so these are the things that will, moving on to kind of prevent these from occurring again. Anyway, that is all for today's podcast. If you have any comments, please, you can contact me on our Instagram handle is cybersechappy, or you can leave your comments. Furthermore, if you have any suggestions or any topics you want me to discuss, please let me know. Thanks once again for listening. Until next time. Bye-bye.